Hi everyone, and welcome to another special episode of AskJTtv, where I'm pleased to be with Wayne Leggett, Financial Advisor from Paramount Wealth Management, and now the co-host of a very soon to be released series called Money Talks, which we'll obviously chat to you more about later on. Wayne, thanks so much for joining us today.
Welcome, Joe. It's my pleasure to be here.
I see you've got your Eagles scarf on there. No doubt about who you're supporting.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a two-team town, but in September it was only a one-team town, and we're it.
And it's been like that for a while, and probably will be like that for a while to come with the way the Dockers are playing,
Yeah,
right?
well, they would hope it changes, but right at the minute, I'm pleased to say that my side finished second, so looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
I'll be there on Saturday to support them too, so I'll see you at the bar.
You will.
Wayne, first question I'd like to ask for our viewers is it true that people can now contribute part or all of the proceeds of the sale of their property into superannuation?
It is, James, and what's interesting about it is, of course, people could have sold their home and put money into super as long as they had that ability within limits and so on. But where this is unique is that people who would otherwise have not been able to put money into super can do so if it comes from proceeds of sale of their home.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's some real benefits there for people that they might not necessarily have been aware of.
Yeah, absolutely, because we're talking about people, one of the requirements is they must be over 65.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're over 65 and they've stopped working, that means they can't put money into super any other way than as proceeds released from sale of home.
So Wayne, why is that such a big deal? Because couldn't people contribute money into superannuation anyway?
Well, they can. As I said, if they're over 65 and they've left the workforce, they can't contribute unless they pass a work test. So with this, as long as the proceeds are coming from home sale, they don't have to meet those tests, and they're not subject to any of the other limits that normally apply to superannuation contributions. So it's a free kick. There are limits on how much of that can be done. It's up to $300,000 for an individual. So if it's a couple selling their home, it's $300,000 each that they can put into superannuation. So it's fairly generous.
Yeah, and we could speak for hours about how many limitations and how much red tape there is when it comes to superannuation.
As you're well aware, there are lots and keep changing all the time. But this is something new that's very beneficial for people who would otherwise not be able to get more money into super.
Yeah, fantastic. So aside from the $300,000 per person and owner-occupier contribution only, are there any other limitations that apply to this?
Yeah, what the sale has to have occurred on or after 1st of July this year, so we're obviously safe now. The other requirement is that the proceeds have to arrive at the superannuation fund within 90 days of payment, settlement effectively. So theoretically you could do that with a sale that happened before the 1st of July, but 1st of July is now the start date. Once we get past the end of September, that requirement will be met. There has to be a form lodged with the receiving fund prior to or at the time of making the contribution. So if the money gets there before the form does, the fund can't accept it as this kind of contribution. And given we're talking about people who probably otherwise couldn't make a contribution, they may find they've shot themselves in the foot and the contribution gets turned away.
So it sounds like there's quite a few complexities that the layperson that doesn't do this for a living wouldn't necessarily know about.
Absolutely. One is the fact that you can only do this once. So while we've talked about the 10-year rule and it has to be principal place of residence, if we go 10 years down the track, under current rules, you can't have another bite at the cherry and stick another up to $600,000 into it, or smaller amount, because it's that one time, one amount offer.
So important to get it right the first time, or it could be very costly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And there is one other thing that people need to consider is they refer to this as downsizer contributions.
Right.
The interesting thing is you don't have to be downsizing. All you have to do is have sold your home and released the proceeds. So in theory, if people were able in some other way to fund another contribution into super, to fund another purchase of a home, they could sell their home, put the money in super and then buy a home through other resources, and they'd sort of have their cake and eat it too without having to move to a smaller, less valuable home.
Okay, good advice. And are there any other traps then, from your experience, that people should be aware of?
Only the fact that you need to make sure that you do these in the right order and they're treated the right way with the paperwork, because otherwise they get caught by the existing caps, and the beauty of this limit is those caps don't apply. So it's sort of a bonus, as it were. Worth taking advantage of.
Yeah, for sure. And so it sounds like there's some real advantages in this, but it is a bit of a minefield. So getting the right advice is obviously very important. How can people reach out to you for your advice?
If they look for Paramount on Google, Paramount Financial Solutions, or they'll find us at www.paramount.net.au. We're also on Facebook, easy to find there, and all our contact details are listed there.
Okay, and off topic, Wayne, tell me who's going to win this weekend and by how much, and who's the best player on the ground?
Eagles by 3 goals. Best player will be Jack Darling, and Richmond with Dustin Martin probably doing the same thing.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks. Again, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of AskJTtv, and we look forward to being with you the same time next week. Bye for now. Thanks, Wayne.
Cheers, mate.